Hello everyone, you are welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video I will continue to show you how you can work with the AutoLISP program for detailing of structural RC members. Then this particular video I will show you how you can use the program to detail a column. Alright, a column. So how are we going to do that? Then let's just get into it as soon as possible. And now I will go to the Excel template. Okay, now this is the thing, this Excel template is capable of detailing a column and a retaining wall at the same time. You know, the design of a wall is similar to that of a column, so there is a combination of the column and the retaining wall in this template. So you can either use this template to detail a retaining wall, or you use it to detail a column. All right, so let's just get into it. Here it will ask you for the number of spans. Okay, the number of spans simply means the number of stories that you wish to have. Okay, this Excel template is capable of detailing a column up to 5 stories. Okay, so you can have up to 5. You can see what you have here: span 1, 2, span 5. Okay, all right, so now we shall begin with the detail in proper. But before we go on, I will just introduce these sections to you. Okay, this first table that you are seeing here, it has to do with the geometry of the column. Okay, that's where you input the thickness of your column, the height of your column, and if there's any recess you input it here, and then also for the thickness of the slab. Okay, and then this has to do with the longitudinal reinforcement, okay, which is the long bar, while this has to do with the transverse reinforcement. Majorly that is your link. Okay, and then here you have your footing, because you know a footing will be attached to it. Okay, so now let's just go ahead with the geometry. Let's start with the geometry. How many spans do I want to have? I want to have 2 spans. If you want to have beyond 2 spans, you can have it here, but I just need 2 spans. Okay, the thickness of the wall, which simply means the thickness of your column, and then the height, we will make the height to be equals to 3. The h is 0, because the h simply means if you want to have like a recess. Okay, let's say for example the column that is at the bottom is bigger, okay, then the one at the top is now smaller. Okay, so if you want it to be smaller, then you can work with your dh. All right, I think that is clear. Okay, so my dh is 0, and then the thickness of the slab thickness, I will make that to be 0.15. okay, so if that is okay, just click on this, which means span 1 is equivalent to the remaining spans. Okay, because I want this column to be equal to what I have under here. So when you click on this, boom, it's going to change this. You see that this is now identical to what you have here. All right, so and then when you check here, you see that this still remains as 4 meter. This is still 4 meter. Okay, so all you just need to do is click on apply geometry. So it's going to apply this geometry to what you have here, and then you see this has changed to 3 meter. The same thing for this has changed to 3 meter, and the thickness here has changed to 0.15. also your column has changed to 0.3, and your dh is 0. Okay, so that is good enough. Then you will have to manually change what you have here, because it's just a footing. You don't need to go too much. I wish the length of my footing to be equivalent to 1500 mm, which is 1.5 meter. Okay, so I'll just make this side to be equal to 0.6. okay, and here this is where my column will be at the center, so my column will still retain the 0.3. don't forget that my column is 0.3, so the column will be at the center, and then at this side too I will have is 0.6. okay, so at the end of the day, when you had 0.6 plus 0.6, that will give you 1.2. then when you had 1.2 to 0.3, that will add up to 1.5. all right, then what is the thickness of your footing? Okay, so this footing, let's assume equivalent to 0.3. okay, now you want to know the foundation. This is where the foundation ends. Okay, this is where the foundation will end. So what's the height of your foundation? Let's say the height of foundation is let's say 1.5 meter. okay, 1.5 meter, or let me just make this to be 1.2 meter. The width, let me make it to 1.2 meters. I'll change this to 0.45. okay, and then change this to 0.45. all right, then I will now make my foundation to be equal to 1.5 meter. okay, don't forget that the foundation will start from here. So if this point is 0.3, you just have to remove 0.3 from 1.5, and then you'll be left with 1.2. so I'll make this point to be 1.2. okay, so at the end of the day, when you had your 1.2 to 0.3. What we buried under the ground will be 1.5, and that is your foundation depth, of course. So from this point up to this point, that's where you have your first story, and you can see that is 3 meter. Then of course you have a slab. That 3 meter is inclusive of the slab, of course, okay. And then the slab is 0.15 meter, and then this is this. So I think now we are done with the geometry. Then we can now move to the reinforcement, okay. So you come to the wall reinforcement, which is the column reinforcement. So now you have the longitudinal. You can see you have L here. The L simply means longitudinal, okay. So the diameter, you put the diameter, and then you put the spacing, okay. So now what is the diameter? We decide to use a diameter of 16 mm. Let that be 16. And then for the other span, which is this one, you have two. You can see you have two sides. You have one side here, you have another side here, okay, which simply means you can see you have two bars. The bar you have at this side and the bar you have at this side. So this dimension is for the bar here, while this dimension is for the bar here. I mean these details, okay. So I will decide to use 16 mm for my columns, and then the spacing, okay, you're having this spacing here instead of number. You should be having number instead of spacing, okay. But actually what is here, I told you can use this template for your column. You can also use it for your retaining wall, okay. So the spacing is there instead of the number, so you should know how you manipulate that at the end of the day. So you can just ignore what the spacing is. What you should be concerned about is the diameter, because you have to edit the label of the column at the end of the day. Then here just make it to be the same thing. Then now you have the transverse. If it is a retaining wall, then you have a transverse like this. The transverse, this that is appearing like a circular donut, the circle section of the reinforcement, that is the transverse reinforcement. But this is not how you'll be having it in a column. You'll be having a link which will be outside. So all you just need to do is you click on this box, okay, you click on this, and then you change it to type 2 reinforcement, okay. So when you change it to type 2 reinforcement, obviously the transverse reinforcement will be outside, while the rebar will be inside, okay. So now what you are seeing here, which is the transverse reinforcement, it represents the face of the link, when you are looking at the link, okay. So this is what the transverse mean. Now I'm going to change this to 12, okay. So it is 12 already, you can see, which is 12 mm, all right. And then the spacing is 0.15. so that is what I want the spacing of my link to be. Here you have to be very sure this is in spacing. You can see you are concerned about spacing here. You are not concerned about number, because this is a link, okay. It will range from the bottom to the top. So that is why you can see most of this is in. I can't just combine the spacing and the number together here. So that's why I am using this, okay. And then this, you have internal, external. Since you've changed it from type 1 to type 2, all of this will be in type 2, so you shouldn't bother about that. Okay, so now we are done with the reinforcement of the column. Then you can come to the reinforcement of the footing. First of all, I will change this reinforcement, the reinforcement of the footing. You can see how it is, okay. So I'll change it to the second type 2. Now when I change it to type 2, you can see what I have. You can see that the bottom reinforcement, which is this bottom U-bar, is now differentiated from the top U-bar, whereas in type 1 it is just like a single, you understand, a single bar, okay. So the type 2 is more realistic to achieve, so make sure you put it in type 2. So AS1 is simply the bar you have in green color here, okay. So how many bars do you want to have there? It depends on the spacing. So if this is 300 mm, and then this should just be 2 numbers, so put 2 numbers here, okay. And then what's diameter? Let the diameter be 16. If you wish the diameter to be 12, let me just, 16 should be enough. If the diameter is 12, just change it here to 12. And then ASD simply means these bars, okay. You can see this bar, it is labeled. So how many of these bars do you want to have? You do not need to put number. What you should be concerned about here is the spacing, obviously, okay. So you just put the dimension. I wish for this to be 16 mm as well. Then what's the spacing? The spacing is 200 mm. That's 0.2, okay. Then ASL1 is the main bar here, which is the bottom bar, okay. So if those are, or let me change this to 12 mm. I think this will be better in 12 mm, and this will be better in 12 mm. Then the main rebar here should now be 16 mm, okay. And then put the spacing to be 0.2, let's say 0.2 should be enough too. And then ASL2, that is the one at the top here. Okay, so that may be necessary at times it may not be necessary. So if you're having ASL2, that tells you that the footing is doubly reinforced. It can be singly reinforced, it can be double reinforced. So let's assume it is doubly reinforced, then I'll make the reinforcement there to be 16 as well. Okay, and then the spacing, I'll rather make this to be 0.15, then make this to be 0.2. Okay, all right. So if that is good enough, all you just need to do is you save your file, because you need to save these changes. Okay, here you can't change anything, it's just telling you where the kink will be and the lap. Okay, so this is how the reinforcement will be. So if that is done, just come to your AutoCAD. Let me delete this, and then you come to your tool palette. Okay, so all you just need to look for is the retaining wall. As I've told you earlier, what we use for the retaining wall is what you use for the column. So I'll pick the retaining wall, and then just click. A single click is good. Okay, so now that you are here, of course you have to do some edits. Okay, now the first thing I would do is here, here you have a blinding. There's a blinding here, so you can decide to have an arch. Okay, so just come to your arch, and then you pick whatever you want your arch to be. So I will look for the gravel. There is gravel. Yeah, this is gravel. Okay, so you pick gravel, and then you can drop it inside like this. Okay, so it has been dropped, but I believe the scale is not good enough, so you just have to work with the scale. So I'll just change this to 0.01 and then enter. So this is shown properly now. Okay, there's a little bit of, because of the dimension, it is splitting it down, so I'll put another one here like this. Okay, so that should be good enough. So we can move on. All right, the dimension here is good, so you don't need to bother too much. You have one at the top, you have one at the bottom, or maybe I should have put another one here. And then the first thing you can do is this particular one, you can delete it. I will just delete it. So I will use this single bar to work with my reinforcement, and then I will delete this as well. Okay, I'll delete that too. And this kink, the kink is not necessary. I'll delete the kink. After deleting the kink, you can come down here. You will see this should not be in this way, it should be in the other way. Okay, so to do that, just select it, and then you use your mirror to just mirror. So you can pick this point. So now just drop it. Okay, then it will ask you if you want to erase the source. Yes, I want to erase the source, so that will go away. Then now you've completely, you've changed the direction. So after you are done doing that, another thing you can do is, here is where your foundation ends. So you can see you have your foundation here, so this is where your foundation ends. So at this point there should be a lapping. Okay, so just try to cut across this like this, maybe with a line, and if you can you just need to break it. So if you do not even need a line to break, that's not a problem. So I'll just select this particular one, and then I'll break it at the center here. Okay, so that should be good enough. Now I can decide to move my bar. Let me move it to this side. Okay, boom. Okay, then it is this one that will go upward, so just make it to go upward. So now you will take it upward. Okay, but I don't want to take it upward by any value. Okay, so you have to take it upward by a particular value. Now if you look at this, look at the value, you can see it is at the point here. What do you see at the value? Do you see the value is what? 1.42, which tells you that the extension you are making is actually counting from the bottom. Okay, not from this point where you started it from. So you should be careful about how you insert the number. So if you want your lapping to be 0.8, all you just need to do is add that 1.4. The origin here, you can see what's the origin, 1.42, then you add that to 0.8, and that should be equivalent to 2.2. so when you take this upward, just type 2.2 on your keyboard and then enter. Then it is going to elongate by 0.8. you can see it like this. it is going to elongate it like this. So this is how you lap. So don't just press 0.8 on your keyboard and you enter. When you do that, it will reduce your rebar to 0.8. You might not even see it because 0.8 will be very small. So that is the secret behind that. And then at this point here you can see obviously there is a lap. So let me just try to shift it a little bit, so that it can be very clear. So shift it like this, boom. Okay, and then we have to increase this to the same thing. Now what's the origin here? The origin is 3 meter. You can see that's 3 meter. That's the length of that particular, because that's the length of the story. So you take it up with 0.8 to make it to become 3.8 and then enter. All right, so now you can obviously see the lapping. Okay, so I think that is good enough. Then the next thing to do now is the link. You can see the link is there. This is the section of the link, but to make it more professional, you can just put this section here. So just click on this and then you can pick the center here, and then where's the next one? This is the center here. Okay, so just pick it like this and then you will see the link around it like this. Okay, so the link will come like this. So that is good enough. Then you can just range it. You use your what's it called, your dimension. You can use your dimension line to range it from where it will start from, which is about somewhere around here up to this point, and then you use the value. I showed you how to do that in the last video, so you can just check that out. And then here the dimension, this is not necessary, we've deleted the bar. So here we have Y16, right? So change this to Y16, no capital letter, Y16. The spacing is not necessary. What we need is the number, so that is 4 numbers for Y16, and then you take it with this. Okay, so these are the things you will do while editing. Now if you want to label this particular bar, so all you just need to do is you come to your leader. Obviously I told you in the last section that you don't have any choice than to use the one that has a spacing. It will not give you the number, so you pick this one because I want to, no sorry, I'll pick this one because I want to have a parallel dimension. Pick this one. Okay, so when you click on it, it will ask you for the diameter of the bar you want to reinforce. The bar is simply a 16 mm. Okay, then the spacing, just ignore the spacing, you don't even need the spacing. So insertion points, let's pick somewhere around here or here. Then it will ask you to specify where you want to drop it, so just click outside like this. Okay, then you have your reinforcement. Okay, so you can shift it backward or anyhow, it is very easy for you to shift the arrow. So double click on this and then change this to 4Y. Okay, 4Y16, and then you take this away. So that is how you will label your bar, and that is how you work with your reinforcement. So let's put more stirrup here, because this is another story. So I'll put one stirrup here and then another stirrup here. I just want to put it at the center. Okay, so I can have it like that, and then at the last story here I can put, let's see, one here and then another here, so I can have just that. Then you can see you have your anchorage here. If you want the anchorage to go into the beam, of course you know what to do, you just have to extend. So but that is not necessary. And if you want it to go into the column, if you want it to go back into the column, okay, so to have that you can just use your horizontal hook. So pick the horizontal hook, don't mix it up. This is an horizontal bar, you want to have it vertically. Okay, but the bar in question is horizontal. You can see this is horizontal, so the hook is vertical, but the bar that is needed is horizontal, so you'll be using horizontal hook. Okay, so click it and then you can pick this point. Then to ask you for the length, what you just need is the length. So I will use something like this. Let me pick, let's say here. Okay, then ask you for the concrete points, just pick here. Then it will come down like this. If that is good enough, I think we are good to go. So you can elongate it a little bit depending on how you want to have it. So this is the end of the elevation detail of the column. In the next video I'll be showing you how you can have the section. You need to have the plan section. Okay, this is I want to make it to be a 0.3 by 0.3 meter column. So we draw the section in the next video. If you wish to have the program, you can just contact me with the details I'll be putting in the description of this video. If you like the video, make sure you give it a like, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, kindly give me a subscription. Thank you for watching.